All right. Hello and welcome to this week's webinar live stream. Call it what you want. I'm super excited to be here. We are going to talk about one of my favorite use cases in Gumloop is building a Slack bot. We live in Slack. We talk in Slack. Want to be able to talk to our documents in Slack. Want to be able to run workflows directly from Slack. And that's exactly what we're going to do over the next 30 minutes. We're not going to build one. We're actually going to build four different Slack bots of increasing complexities. First, we're just going to show you the basics of how to chat, get a response from AI. Then we're going to provide context so you can create context aware Slack bots. Some people call this agents. We don't prefer to use that word. Then we're going to have them kind of decide whether or not a response is needed based on what the user is answering. And finally, we're going to build a workflow that reads Salesforce, reads your documentation, and gives you exactly the answer you're looking for. One of my favorite use cases. Can't wait to jump in. And let's go right ahead. I'm going to walk you through, as always, what we're about to build, and then we'll build it step by step. Okay, so what are we going to build? Let me bring up this right here. Appreciate all of you joining. Wow, is my TL draw down? What are the odds? Is my Wi-Fi super slow? Huh, super weird. No, Wi-Fi is good. Okay. So our goal is for anyone to be able to send a message and get a response from Slack. I'm not sure why TL draw is so low. Let me try that. So slow. Let me try that again. Interesting. Okay. So I want to be able. Let me remove this. Let me pop up the chat if anyone's joining. All stuff I'll have ready tomorrow. Our goal is to write a message in this channel and get a response. Initially, what we're going to build, let me just see if I can go to tldraw.com. Interesting. Okay, so it's just this page. Okay. So our first step of our Slack bot is simply to read a Slack message whenever someone says, ask whatever the user is asking to AI and get a response. So I want to be able to say things like, hey, what is the largest country in the world? Have that go to AI and get a response in the thread. Now, we are going to build increasing complexity. Then we're going to have it answer questions about our specific documents. In our case, it's going to go ahead and read our deal. Like, what are we allowed to sell and how do we sell at Gumloop? Then it's going to actually check whether the question is about sales policy and respond only when required. And finally, it's actually going to go to Salesforce for a specific opportunity and look at the policy and see whether we can discount that specific deal. Amazing, right? So let's start very simple. So my goal is to say when we receive a new Slack message, so I'm going to add a Slack node. If you're unfamiliar with Gumloop, think of every single one of these steps as nodes in our flow. So all of this together is a flow, and these are the different steps. So I want to read a Slack message. So which channel do I want to read in? Let's use the workspace. There we go. I want to read in, I called this webinar QA. So for now, I'm just going to read the latest message, and then we're going to turn this on as a trigger to run every time there's a new. I'm going to ignore bot messages so answering doesn't go into a loop. And then I should have, what is the largest country in the world? That is the message. Now, what do I want to do with that message? I want to have it AI answer it. So that's going to be the next step in our flow. So we're going to go add AI. I'm going to say answer the following question, right? So every message is going to be a question. Now, obviously, It's not going to be the case. And that's something we're going to fix in a moment. Now, I'm going to pick GPT 4.0 Mini. You can pick many. We'll use different models throughout this webinar. And if you have any questions, let me know in the chat as always. And then I want to respond. So I want to send a message in Slack. Just like before, the message is going to be the response. Now note, I'm connecting and then passing in. The channel is going to be webinar QA. Now, quick pro tip, I do want to reply in thread. So I want it to respond directly to this. And so I need the thread ID. That's actually something we can get from the message. So I'm going to add that in like so. I'm going to connect this, bring in the thread ID. And now if I save this, and let's actually turn it on as a trigger, right? This is saying only read new messages. Every time there's a new message, read it, ask AI, and then respond in thread. I'm going to publish this, right? So it's going to be our first publish, answering questions. Now we are officially live. So now if I go back here, let me go here and say, let's ask, what is the smallest country in the world? Now what's going to happen here is that it's going to go here, that we can see it's running, and we have a response. The smallest country in the world is the Vatican City. Let me move myself out of the way so you can see that. There you go. Covers about 44 hectares. American units, 110 acres. Vatican City is the spiritual and administrative center of the Roman Catholic. Fantastic. Now, this is a little annoying, right? Because what is the purpose of this channel? Ideally, let's imagine as a next step that we want this channel to be like about a specific topic. Now, I'm sure in your company, you have channels where people ask, simple questions, right? Like, oh, what is our vacation policy? Or what can I give as a discount? Now, at Gumloop, this is an example, right? We have these enterprise sales rules and deal guidelines. Now, I'm sure you have a version of this or a document that feels like this at your company. And folks ask questions and they're probably too lazy to go to this document. So let's create a bot that answers questions about this specific document. And what's great is that we're like 90% of the way there, right? So all we need to do is read the Slack messages as we are right now, right? And then say, okay, answer the following question with context that we're providing. So we need to read this Google Doc and provide it as context to our prompt. Right? We're going to do that every single time. Now, you'd be surprised. This is exactly how a lot of your favorite AI products work. So what do we do here? We're going to go ahead, add a doc reader. I'm going to grab the URL. We're going to go over here. And now I have as output doc content and doc title. So I'm going to go ahead and pass in the doc content, answer the following question with this context. So I'm going to say end of context. This might get very long, so I wanted to kind of give sections. And so only provide answers that are part of the sales guideline document above. If you are unsure, please mention that, and do not ask follow-up questions from the user. Okay. So now what are we doing? We're reading the message. We're asking AI to answer the question and provide this context and respond in thread. So now, very important with versioning, we've just saved this. We actually need to publish our version. So I'm going to call this now with context for enterprise QA. Now, I see a lot of people in the chat are like, yeah, but what if the person's not asking about sales policy? We're going to get that in a moment. So version 2, that's great. So can I give a 60% discount? Right. I am very generous. Can I give a 60% discount? Now, if we go to discounts in theory, we should not be giving that type of discount. Now, I already see that we have had a response. Can I give a 60% discount? According to the enterprise sales rules and guidelines, discounts greater than 20% are not allowed without explicit written approval from the CRO. A 60% discount far exceeds the maximum discount. Without CRO approval, offering 60 would violate the company's discounting policies. Great. Easy. What if we ask, can I give a 5% discount for 24 months upfront? Please, please. Now we are chatting to that document. And what's great about this is that we can see the questions that people are asking, improve our document. That's another great gum loop flow. And we can see the answers that the AI is providing. There we go. According for prepayment, there's a 10% discount offered. Document does not mention a 5% discount. Instead, 5% applies to annual, right? So it's actually kind of giving us that natural language response. So the guideline is 10%, right? That is awesome. Okay, so we've built already 2 bots. Now I'm seeing people in the chat rightfully saying that it would be annoying, right? So what if I just say, hello, good morning, everyone. Now, every time you run a message, we are going to run this flow, which is not ideal, right? There might be a question that doesn't have. So if you have any questions related to enterprise guidelines, please refer to the document above, right? We want to give a way to say, okay, if it is a question about, sales policy, go ahead and run the flow. Otherwise, kind of do nothing, right? And in doing so, we're actually going to explore one of the most powerful things that we've recently released in Gumloop, which is the router node, which is kind of this orchestrator that will be able to decide what the user is trying to run and then pick the right flow. We're going to start very easy. So what do I mean by this? Right? So right here, so we're going to read a Slack message, right? As we've done. Then we're going to have this little red boxes. Is this a question about sales policy? If that's the answer, run the thing we just built. Otherwise, just kind of do nothing, right? And then in about 4 minutes, honestly, it's pretty quick, pretty easy. We're going to start doing, well, can we build more and more functionality? What if the user is asking about a specific policy? I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's build it first. Okay, so I want to, right here, before we start doing all of this, right? Before we start doing this, I want to go ahead and ask the question to have AI ask the question and answer it. Is this about sales policy? I want to create a route in my flow. So I'm going to add the router node like so. So what are we doing? How does the router node work? So the router node takes as input one of your previous nodes. In our case, we're going to say, okay, take Slack. I want you to evaluate the message that comes in. So I'm going to say sales policy. Now, what is my condition? My conditions would be the user is asking about sales policies, discounting, terms, etc. So AI is going to say, okay, I'm going to read the message and say the user is asking about sales policy. Then I'm going to say other. Now, messages, user is asking about, is not asking about sales policies. So now we've created 2 routes. One, which is called sales policy, and the other is other. Now we can have any model evaluate that message, right? As you're getting more and more flows, more nuanced, you might want to bump up the model. I think for our case, GPT-4o mini will be fine. Now, what do I want to do? I want to say, okay, if it is not about sales policy, I can just simply just kind of do nothing, right? So I'm going to do an output node. I'm going to say the message, I want to output the message, right? Like in the flow, if ever I'm debugging and kind of understanding what's going on, that's output. Now, everything else should go here. So let me clean this up a little bit. Let me disconnect this right here. Let me disconnect everything. So now I want to say, okay, if it is about sales policy, that's when I want you to go to Ask AI. And now we know it is a question. So I'm going to say, answer the following sales policy question with this sales policy document. Now, everything else kind of stays the same. I still need to connect to Slack, right? So I want the thread. Now, in the router node, anything you're passing in, I'm passing in the message and the thread ID, becomes available as an output. So I can pass those in here. And now our flow, right, works just like before. Let me double check. What does this do? Reads messages, ignores bot messages. We don't want it to trigger on its own messages. Ignores replies, right? Again, we don't want to reply to itself. Then we're saying, is this about sales policy? If yes, run the Ask AI node, run the send message. If not, right, do nothing, just kind of output so we can debug. Let's publish this flow. We're going to call this now with dynamic context. Confirm. Great. Version 3. Look at that beautiful flow. It's actually formatted. Beautiful. So this actually makes it much more clear. Slack route. This side is saying if it is a message about policy, otherwise do nothing. So we've tested it. So I'm going to say, what is our policy for? Let's find something a little deeper in the document. Free pilots. Customer is asking for a 4-month free pilot. What can I do? Okay, so we are triggering the flow. If I go here, right, it's running that flow. And we can even click in, see what's going on. We're opening that specific run. Probably by the time we open it, it's done. According to the sales policy document, free pilots are not allowed. All pilots must be paid. Time box of no more than 60 days. Must include objectives, success definitions, and a conversion plan. A 4-month free plan would violate these rules. Awesome. But what if I say, good morning. How is everyone today? Now, we're still going to run the flow, right? It's still triggering on every single message. However, what we're hoping is that the router node, let me open up this flow, says, oh, well, that's not a message about policy, right? Let me move myself. Oh, actually, right here. Right? So we see the router. The selected route is other. And then it says just an output. We don't have an answer from Gummy or the Gumloop Slack bot. Fantastic, right? Cool. Okay. Now we've built already here. If we stop here, it's amazing. You can now chat to your documents. You can chat to, we have an example of this. You can even chat to, we have this docs.gumloop.com/ if I remember correctly, it's called full. So LLMs. Yeah. So this is all of our documentation. And let me move myself out of the way. There we go. And we have a way of chatting to this. If you use Mintlify, you have this as well. Okay. Now for the tour de force, foie gras. I don't know. Either way, what we're saying here is okay, but what if we can actually ask for a specific opportunity, right? So I'm working on this kind of deal with Microsoft, and they just kind of said, okay, we want to, let me open this up, and says, hey, we want to get a 12% discount for a 24-month plan. Now, so far we've said, okay, I send the message, then we're going to go ahead and check documentation. But what if it could dynamically check for this opportunity, right? Kind of kick off a workflow. So what I mean by that is, okay, read the Slack message. Is this about a specific opportunity? If that's the case, go to Salesforce, read the opportunity, understand what's going on in it, understand what our policies are, and have AI respond whether we can do what the client is asking for. You can also think about tickets, other examples. If the question is not about, does not include an opportunity, it's a general question, what we've done so far, go ahead and just respond with AI. Okay, so now we want to add a third route, right, to our router. We want to say, okay, if it's a general question, do these things. But if it's a more specific question around a specific opportunity ID, go to Salesforce and read it. So very, very simple, surprisingly. Let me save this. So just a reminder, we're going to add a third route that says, does this have an opportunity ID in the message? If so, go to Salesforce, grab all details around that opportunity, and then provide the context and see whether the AI can guide us to where we should go. Okay, cool. So how do we do this? Okay, so a little bit tricky. I'm going to disconnect. I think this is the easiest way to think about it. I'm going to disconnect, right, all this stuff, and I'm going to reconnect it in a moment. We're just going to move this over here. If you are familiar with Gumloop, a subflow would be a great idea right now. So I want my first route. Now, very important, the router goes from most specific to least specific. So I'm going to call this sales policy with opportunity ID. So user is asking about a specific and includes in opportunity ID in the message from Salesforce. I.e., let's give it an example. Then I want to say, okay, the next route is sales policy without op. Let me connect this. And does not include an opportunity ID. And then finally, we're going to have an other route, which is not asking about sales policy rules. User is not, right? So just like before, so we're connecting other like this. Now, sales policy is just what we built a moment ago. Like that. And then here, we want the response. We were going to connect. We've just shuffled the routes. So instead of being route 1, it's now route 2. So I'm reconnecting those. Right. So now we've just built the flow we had a moment ago. I'm going to save this. Let's do this. So what is this doing? It reads the Slack message, checks the route. We have 2 routes currently, sales policy without an opportunity, and the other, that is exactly what we had a moment ago. Now, what do we want to do in the case where there is an opportunity ID? Imagine I sent a message, hey, what can I give Microsoft opportunity ID? We want a message like this. So what we wanted to do is to go and find these notes, find the latest conversation we've had, and return with the context what we can do, right? So first thing is that we need to go to Salesforce. In order to go to Salesforce, I need to get the opportunity ID out of the message. But we know that there is an opportunity ID. So I'm going to extract from the message, right? Get the opportunity ID. So this is going to be extract Salesforce opportunity ID from message format like so. Great. So now we have the opportunity ID. Now, before we started this webinar, I created this little Salesforce MCP node, which I called Salesforce Opportunity Details Retriever. What this does, it takes an opportunity ID and returns all details and all notes in one big blob. Let's put 100 notes. And now, just like before, right, we can run an Ask AI node. So just here, we're going to say Ask AI. Like so. So I'm going to say, answer the user's question using the account, the opportunity details, and our sales policy. So opportunity details, right? Opportunity notes. and sales policy. That's going to be our Google Doc, like so. Right. And what guidance only provide answers. So let's include that. We could have been a little more fancy, put those join list items, but join paths. They're a part of the sales guideline above and the opportunity details. Okay, and then we want to send the Slack message as well, just like before, right? So the same Slack message sender. Bam. We're going to grab the response. We are going to respond in thread in the same channel, which is called Webinar QA. And the thread ID is coming from route 3, just like before, or route 1, I should say now. All right. Okay, I know we've spent a lot of time thinking through it. So what does this do? Let me just, wow, lots of things going on here. Okay. I did the thing where it moved this one here. Okay, so what does it do? Reads a Slack message. AI assesses, okay, does it include an opportunity ID? If so, we want to go ahead and read Salesforce, analyze with AI, and return a response to the user. If it's without an opportunity, this is just someone asking general questions. We're going to answer that question. And other, we're just not going to do anything. Okay, let's deploy. All right. Now, if I say, okay, what can I give Microsoft? Or maybe even better, let's say, can I give Microsoft the 12% discount they want? Opportunity. Great. So let's go here. Let's see what's going on. We see that it is running. We could follow it along. Let me move myself out of the way, and then I'm going to jump into Q&A. So what did the router say? The router said sales opportunity with opportunity ID. Fantastic. We've now read the opportunity. Now, this is all gibberish, but it's literally just give me everything from Salesforce, right? We're going to have AI analyze it. It said the opportunity involves a potential 2-year engagement with a minimum spend. Let's actually even better. Let's go see it here. Bam. A 2-year term is the maximum allowable contract length. So is within, that's great. Minimum commitment 12 months. Discounting given the deal size of $2 million, a discount of up to 20% is allowed. With VP sales approval, the requested 12% on all seat is within standard allowance. Does not require escalation beyond the VP. You can offer the requested 12% discount on seat-based pending VP sales approval. Prior access to new feature and roadmap visibility cannot be granted as it violates the policy on exclusive roadmap access. Amazing. So now this channel can do 3 things. It can do nothing when you're just yapping. Hello. Then it can also answer questions like, who is the right person to reach out to for a 20% discount, Fortune 100. Now this is going to go ahead and read our sales policy and respond in thread. Bam. Look at that timing. Boom. Says there is a VP of sales. Great. And then I say, what can I give Microsoft? Account ID. So op ID. Whenever you give it an opportunity ID, I only have Microsoft on as an example here. It's going to go ahead and read Salesforce, look at what your context is, and respond in the thread. I was kind of hoping that was a little faster so I can like time it nicely. Bam. Nice. There we go. And it gives you exactly what you need. Now, we have customers using this for churn understanding. We have customers understanding policies. You can even do things like we have account executives updating information, right? It doesn't just read. You can say, hey, update this with these notes really is one of our most powerful workflows. And I'm so excited to see what you all build. Now we're going to go into some Q&A. Okay, how was that? Let's see how much time we've spent here. Okay, 31 minutes. How much of that was actually building? Okay, we need to speed it up a little bit, but otherwise I think we are good to go. Okay, thank you so much for your time. Peace out. Okay, stop.